hunters and huntresses all over the world. This is Orphanacause75. So I've played Dark Souls 3. I played through the entire game and I got 2 of the endings, and I'm actually working on the 3rd one now, currently. And as I was playing through Dark Souls for my 4th time, I started noticing that the game is not that good. Now, don't get me wrong, it is good, but like not good compared to its later brethren that would come later down the line if they haven't come out already. But I kind of wanted to do a little gameplay / explanation video because I wanted people... I didn't really feel like it was necessary, but I kind of wanted to feel like people need to know what my opinions are when it comes to Dark Souls and its other games, not the previous ones, this one specifically, because I haven't played the other 2 yet. Not to mention I haven't even played the granddaddy of the Souls games, Demon Souls. I haven't played that. So this is directly inclined with the games from Software that I played, which is Dark Souls 3, Bloodborne, and Sekiro. And I kind of wanted to explain... It's mostly going to be Bloodborne. I might throw in Sekiro a bit in there, but I kind of wanted to explain why I believe Bloodborne and a bit of Sekiro is better than Dark Souls as I play through the game. Now, this might seem a bit stupid, because I'm playing through the game that I'm claiming to be worse than Bloodborne. And I'm not saying that the game is horrible. It is a good game. It's just compared to Bloodborne and Sekiro, it kind of pales to comparison. And at the end of this video, this is just an opinion, and I would like to know your guys' opinion when it comes to Dark Souls and Bloodborne or Sekiro. If you guys think Sekiro is better, Bloodborne, Dark Souls, I would like to know that. So first thing, I actually wanted to discuss... I'm kind of like going to put it into separate parts. So I guess my first claim that I think what makes Bloodborne better than Dark Souls is the dodging and parrying mechanic. Now, I can see a lot of people not understanding what I mean by that, and a lot of people seeing it being frustrating at times, and that is because the way I think Bloodborne does Dark Souls better is Dark Souls 3 is basically based off the mechanics that Bloodborne will inherit and has inherited. But see, Bloodborne takes, like, it inherits all the things that Dark Souls 3 has and makes it better. Now, the parrying in Dark Souls and dodging is still pretty good. I mean, it's probably one, if not the most key, important thing in Dark Souls. But it is not that good compared to Bloodborne, because I struggled a lot with most of the bosses, mainly because I was not used to having a full-fledged roll when locked onto people. And personally, when it comes to Bloodborne, I prefer having a quick step when I'm locking onto somebody and dodging. Now, of course, I can see a lot of reasons on why they didn't do that. But since I played Bloodborne before Dark Souls, it just kind of... It made it easier, but it also made it a bit harder, because I'm not used to just rolling every time I lock onto an enemy. I would always be used to having a quick step. But enough with the dodging and me complaining about that. So, long story short when it comes to that is that Bloodborne is better when it comes to dodging because it inherited Dark Souls 3's dodging mechanics and parrying and just made it better. But now we're going to go into the details of the parrying, and that is... parrying is more simple to do. In Dark Souls, you kind of have to calculate it a bit more, and that kind of makes it a bit frustrating. But at the same time, it's not. Like, if you master and, like, practice your parrying, you can definitely parry half of the enemies in the game and probably just make the game a cakewalk. And that was the same with Bloodborne. But see, parrying in Bloodborne was easy, but also challenging at the same time. In this game, it's kind of confusing to do, because, like, sometimes you would... So there's this enemy in Lothric. It's a knight with a shield and a sword, and I do know that I can parry his second attack when he does a specific combo, but for some reason I can only do it if I block the first attack, because I'm not good at calculating it on its own. Sometimes I've done it, sometimes I haven't, but the point is that Bloodborne doesn't require you to have that calculations time. You just need to know when to do it, and that's basically it. And the difficulty of parrying differs depending on what kind of firearm you're used to using. If you just want to make it super easy, or just being able to do it at a safe distance, you can use a pistol, and you can use it at like a far distance. And if you want to be a bit more close up but still have the risk of being countered by it, then you can go ahead and use a shotgun of some sort. Like, the game gives you the option to make the parrying difficult or not. And I like that about Bloodborne. Ouch, shit. Where are those arrows coming from? Help me. But, I think that's enough when it comes to the parrying and the dodging. The next part is invasions. The invasions in Dark Souls 3, I feel like, are a bit forced in some way. Now, hear me out. I know that it is activated by either killing a boss or using an ember. But, unlike Bloodborne, you can't turn it off unless you die. So basically, it's saying, hey, you have a chance to be invaded by anyone, but you can't help it. But you can help or get help by people, but you can't turn it off unless you die. I feel like that's a bit insulting to the person, because, like, if you use an ember or if you kill a boss, actually no, let's not talk about the ember. Let's talk about specifically killing bosses. When you kill a boss, it gives your embers restored. Why? I mean, yeah, I guess it could be like a little bit of reward, but the reward is having a chance of somebody invading my world and ruining my progress? Like, excuse me? Like, I get it, how that, like, I can understand having an item that activates invasions and co-op and all that, but after killing a boss? What? That just doesn't make sense to me. I can't connect the dots on that. And I'm sure there are multiple reasons for it, no doubt. But I just can't see the reasons for them. Ow. You have, like, no health. Hold on, let me... I'm spazzing out. My character's spazzing out because I'm, like, trying to find the spell, but I'm, like, hyperventilating at the same time. No, stay away! But, anyway. I feel like it's a bit weird or kinda dumb for you to kill a boss. You're finally victorious. You finally killed a boss that you struggled with. And then your reward is getting extra health and a chance to get your progress ruined by somebody who is trying to invade somebody. Like, I actually prefer the online in Dark Souls than I do with Bloodborne. But Bloodborne does it better because it makes it an option. You have the choice to summon someone, and you have the choice to invade. Now, sure, you could just not use an ember, but at the same time, if you're going through the game, you'll have to stop at a specific point to not only get good invasions, but also co-op as well. Which means you're gonna have to go through a few bosses and have those people ruin your experience. Personally, I don't appreciate online being activated after having a victorious moment, if you get my drift here. Like the picture that I just put in with the boss, I just don't see or like that happening to somebody. And it's happened to me. It literally happened to me, like, a few days ago. Like, I just killed the Crystal Sage, I was moving on to the Deacons of the Deep, and then I was about ready to hit a shortcut. But as soon as I hit a shortcut, I got invaded by someone and got completely destroyed. Now, this might be just being like, there could be somebody in here just like, well, how about just not play in online mode? Which brings up my next part when it comes to online. I'd like to have online activated for an option, but I don't like it if invasions and people can just invade me out of nowhere and just ruin my progress. You get what I mean? Like, I appreciate the online that From Software offers, but in Dark Souls, I just don't like it being crammed down my throat because I beat a boss. And some people may like it, some people might not. Some people might agree with me, and some people might not. And this entire point is to say that I like invasions, I just like them to be fully in my control. I don't like them to be a thing that's going to be forced down my throat because I finally managed to kill the Nameless King and decided to move on to the Abyss Watchers, okay? That's basically the whole point. It may sound like I'm being salty, but if you think of it at a standard point that I'm making, it kind of makes sense. But anyway, moving from the invasions and such, my next part is actually probably going to piss a lot of people off. I guarantee it's going to piss people off. But the bosses. Bloodborne has way better bosses. Now, there could be just some people out there just saying, well, you're just disliking the bosses because they just gave you a hard time. Actually, I didn't have that many problems with some of the bosses. I think the 3 bosses that gave me the most trouble were the Dancer, Nameless King, and Soul of Cinder. And even then, they only took me like at least around 10 to 20 tries. During my first playthrough. And now I can kill them at least 3, 2, or maybe even the first try. But it's mostly because Dark Souls 3 doesn't know how to make the game harder after completing the game. See, the thing about Bloodborne is I love replaying the story for this particular reason. The bosses get more challenging. It's not just, oh, this is going to be a fucking easy breeze. I expect to go into a From Software game, beat it, and expect it to be just as hard as when I first fucking played the goddamn game. I don't expect it to be hard when I first played the game and then being it a cakewalk the second time. What the hell? Now, I might be seeming just salty, but it's honestly not being salty. It's just a proven fact. I bet there are a million other people, hello viewer, I bet there are a million other people in the world that would agree with me to this standpoint of the bosses in Bloodborne are way more challenging on the second try than they are on the first. And I really would like it if Dark Souls bosses were actually challenging the second time, saying as I died to a giant. But another thing is the health scaling. The health scaling in Dark Souls 3 has little to no difference, which means that you can just go into a fight, and as long as you have a fully upgraded weapon, you're gonna tear ass. With the Drakeblood Greatsword, I specifically made it to make sure Archdragon Peak is my bitch. And it does. It works flawlessly against dragons there. Especially during the dragon in fucking Nameless King. I can kill his dragon in a few seconds using the Drakeblood sword. Now, I'm sure a lot of people can even kill it even faster than I did, which is understandable. But the fact that I just managed to do it on the second playthrough is absolute bullshit. And I don't like that in a boss. When I first played against the Cleric Beast the second time, it was challenging, but not enough to the point where, it was rage-inducing. I mean, that's a complete lie, because I'm pretty sure I have died to the Cleric Beast to the point where I want to rip my fucking head off, but it's just kind of annoying. It's really, really difficult to explain, but the point that I'm making here is that Dark Souls 3 does not give me that challenging stuff that I expect to see in Bloodborne when it comes to New Game Plus, and it's just kind of disappointing. But I guess the next point is I don't really actually remember deciphering what the bosses were, so we're going to move to the bosses real quick. And there were some unique bosses. There were some good ones. So I'm probably going to start off by giving off the bosses that were actually fun or really cool in my opinion, but lacked in something. So first one is the Abyss Watchers. I love that boss fight. That boss fight is the best thing. But the downfall on it is the fact that it is way too easy. I went into the Abyss Watchers and killed it first try on my first playthrough, and that was unacceptable to me. I felt like I should have been stuck on this boss at least more than 5, maybe 10 times. I should have been killed by him at least once, and it took until the third playthrough before I actually fucked up and got killed by it. I'm not okay with that. It's not okay. It's unacceptable for a Souls game. I I go into a game and I expect it to be difficult, especially when it's a From Software game. And I go into Dark Souls 3 and kill one of the most loved and sometimes hated boss and kill it first try is kind of disappointing. Now, I'm sure a lot of people have different experiences with the game, but that's just how I did it, and that's why it makes it such a disappointing game. Or boss, really. It is a kind of a disappointing game, but not too much, which is kind of the good thing here. It's like disappointing, but not too disappointing. But, so, the next honorable boss that isn't complete trash is the Dancer of the Boreal Valley. Now, sure, it's just a basic knight that comes out of a black anus and just fucks you up, but I felt really, really intimidated by it. Like, whenever, I'm assuming that the Dancer of the Boreal Valley is a female, so if anyone actually knows the gender, please tell me at any point. But I honestly think that the Dancer of the Boreal Valley was very intimidating and very difficult. It's killed me a few times. It wasn't too difficult on Nameless King or Soul of Cinder level, but it was very intimidating, and that's what I liked about the boss. But the downfall of it is that it was basic. It's too unreal. It was just a knight. That's all it was. It was just a knight that twirls like a tornado with two blades. I think the only thing that was unique about it is the fact that it came out of a fucking anus. But I'm gonna kill Patches because I don't want to go through that. I don't want to go through the torture of this game. You're very weird. Sometimes I hate when they get staggered sometimes, and they don't. But anyway, point is that Dancer of the Boreal Valley, really good at being intimidating, not so good at being original. And I guess the next boss that I thought was pretty okay was probably the Nameless King. I liked the Nameless King. I mean, he was cool, and the fact that he was the son of Gwyn, my boy, from Dark Souls 1 that I never played, but point is he is a very fun boss. He's very intimidating even on his dragon, but the downfall of him is the dragon. The downfall that I think he has when it comes to being a boss is actually the dragon itself. Because I had to fuck around with the mechanics a shit ton. I had so many fucking problems with fighting the dragon. It was just so fucking tedious, and I hated it so much for that. And so basically the first phase of Nameless King was completely awful. I mean, it was cool until the camera started being fucking terrible. But its second phase did live up to the potential that a lot of people said that it had, so I'm glad for that. But now that we're back out of the honorable mentions, I could add another one, but at the same time I don't think there's any of the other ones that are that good. Either any of the bosses were super fucking easy to beat, or they were too unoriginal, but had difficulty. Like the Dancer of the Boreal Valley. She was very intimidating and very, very difficult, but she lacked in uniqueness. I'm kind of like gonna pick on this specific boss, but the Consumed King, the dragon dude, that thinks that he's holding an invisible dragon baby. He was cool up to a point. Because when I first saw him, he was just like, oh, yeah, I remember this boss. This boss is actually pretty cool. But then a click went into my head, and it's just like, oh, it's basically Sauron, but a dragon and a staff, and is a scaleless dragon. Like, what the fuck? It was disappointing. It was really, really dumb. I just really thought he wasn't that original compared to the Abyss Watchers. Speaking of the Abyss Watchers, for anyone who wants to specifically know why I like them, I don't know if I said it. If I do repeat stuff, please point that out. I would really like to know. My memory has been all over the place. But, the Abyss Watchers were so fun or cool because they looked so fucking awesome. And their boss fight is the most unique boss ever. I think it is the best boss that I've ever faced against. In ever. Like, ever. Because it's not just you versus a boss. It's you versus a boss versus an NPC versus a fucking teammate. Like, you have a teammate in that boss fight. That is, and that's not sick. Like, that's fucking awesome. It's one of the few bosses where you actually get help at the beginning. And sure, you could just summon somebody or summon an NPC, but it's the first time where it's an actual mechanic in the boss fight. It's not something that's optional. It's something that's actually part of the boss fight, and that's what makes it good. But going back to the blandness of most bosses, and that is, like, let's talk about the Deacons of the Deep, considering that I'm, fucking fighting them. It's basically just priest, fat priest, tall priest, skinny priest, and then a pope. That's basically all it is. Like, and I don't really want to seem like a dick to people by doing that, but it's true. It's god-awful true. I'm pretty sure a lot of people will agree with me on it, and I know a lot of people will be pissed off at me because reasons, but it's just lackluster. It's not that good. I could find a few other bosses that are way better than this, and they are pretty fucking shitty in my opinion. But moving on from the Deacons of the Deep, another one that I kind of want to pick on is specifically the, what are they called? I forget. Or what is it called? I think it's oh my god. It's the, what's his name? The tree dude. If anyone knows what I'm talking about, yeah, that's the tree, the giant fucking tree dude thing, whatever, monster, I don't know. The tree filled with a bunch of curses and shit. That thing. Yeah, that thing's fucking boring. I don't really think I need to explain why. If you really need an explanation, there's something wrong with you. Getting raped by priests just like real church. I don't really know what else to say about it. Like, it's just a fucking tree that has a bunch of fucking souls in it. Like, what else do you need? That's like the blandest of shit ever. And that was basically like, when I first saw the tree, I was basically like, oh, it's that dude from fucking Courage the Cowardly Dog. Is he still looking for the slab or some shit? If you guys don't know what I'm talking about that one really creepy episode with that dude. Like, the old guy had a slab, and, like, the dude's just like, return the slab or suffer my curse or some shit. I can't remember, but if anyone knows what I'm talking about, that's basically what he reminded me of, and that's kind of a good and kind of a bad thing. It's mostly bad, though, because that guy fucking scared me as a child. But, point is it's dumb. The tree is dumb. Anyone could disagree with me on that, but I've died to him, I think I died to him, 2 times before I actually killed him. And I knew immediately what to do because, a giant pull state. And since it's fucking wood, I know for a fact that it's going to be like, oh, I'm going to need to fucking attack giant bulbous thing in the front and back of the bastard in order to kill him. And it was pretty easy to figure on from there. Like, I immediately knew how to do damage. It's just I got sloppy. But there's nothing really to say about it. It's just a fucking tree. Like, what do you expect from a tree? Like, it's a fucking tree. I've said this about 50 fucking times, but it's true. Like, I'm trying to explain this, but the only thing that comes out of my mouth is, it's a fucking tree. Like, it's not even a good boss. If anyone thinks it's a good boss, okay. I don't really know. I just don't know. I guess you and me just don't get along. Because personally, I think it's one of the dumbest, maybe even the blandest boss in Dark Souls 3 ever. Just ever. But we're going to move on to the next boss, and that boss is High Lord Wolnir. Why did I say wolf? But High Lord Wolnir is pretty fucking bland. I mean, the way that you reach him is kind of cool. You just touch a chalice and then you get in it, but it's basically just like any story where somebody just gets sucked into a book. Or a fairy tale or some shit. It's basically like the Wizard of Oz. But I'm actually, speaking of this, I actually had to fight him next. But point is that I am just, I just have to fucking do that. It's just, High Lord Wolnir is just kind of dumb. It's really really dumb. It's not a very creative boss fight. It's just, ooh, giant skeleton man. Oh, look out. He got giant dagger, dog. He gonna fuck you up. The fact that he even managed to kill me once is honestly surprising. I actually got sloppy against him and actually died to him. And that's pretty fucking embarrassing, especially on my standards. But, so he's a very bland boss. He's not intimidating at all. And the fact that his health is based off 3 bracelets that just cut his health into 3 sections is fucking retarded. At least the Bloodborne bosses had enough health to make them a threat, but also give them intimidation. Like, the Witches of Hemwick. Let's talk about one of the worst or, like, easiest bosses in Bloodborne. The Witches of Hemwick. They had a shit ton of health and still posed a threat compared to High Lord Wolnir. Are you fucking kidding me? I'm sure a lot of people are gonna say that I'm just being salty, but think about it. A fucking witch has more health and more intimidation than a giant skeleton that lives in a chalice because it has more health.
Are you serious?
Like, what else am I supposed to say about that? That's fucking embarrassing, dude. That is so bad. That is horrible. Like, High Lord Wolnir, when I first saw him in a video, I was just like, oh, dude, that boss was sick. Like, this is before I even touched Dark Souls 3. Before I even started getting into the Dark Souls 3 series. And then when I realized you had to kill him by hitting his bracelets and how much health it took away. Excuse me? Like, is that even a boss? The fact that I managed to even die to him now is even seeming more embarrassing than I thought it was. Like, that is horrible. Just 3 bracelets that represent his health. Get rid of 1, shit ton of health. Get rid of 2, shit ton of health. Get rid of 3, he's fucking dead. Are you serious, dude? I mean, sure, he could make it a bit hard by summoning a dagger and summoning skeletons, but even then, he's gonna kill his own fucking minions by just simply putting the dagger back or doing a fucking front sweep that you can easily dodge by either backing up a few fucking miles, which is pretty easy considering that he is a pretty slow wind-up, or just dodging through it like a fucking DS boss, like, really. And the fact that I see the Witches of Hemwick more intimidating than a fucking giant skeleton is honestly pathetic. I know a lot of people will probably be like, the Witches of Hemwick are just fucking trash, but the fact that you're saying that is only feeding my ego more on this, because, let's be honest here, the Witches of Hemwick at least pose some threat compared to a skeleton that can just die in 3 broken bracelets. Okay, so I'm gonna move to one last boss, and then I'm gonna probably move to my last point and end the video because I'm getting super salty and I'm having a headache. But the last boss that I want to cover is the Twin Princes. Like, really? I mean, yeah, they were kind of cool, and I will actually, before I start nitpicking at them, I do kind of want to talk about what makes them good, because honestly, I think Lothric should have made it to, you know, the honorable mentions, but I'm going to go with the positive first, because I'm a nice person like that, and then I'll go with the negative. There's probably going to be more negative than positive, so just be aware of that. But I really like the fight between Lorien, when it's just you and Lorien one-on-one. That fight is just so fucking fantastic. Like, and I feel like his mechanics are not too buggy. One thing that I honestly found within the dodging mechanic is it's very buggy. I have a huge problem trying to dodge something that I can easily dodge or just move to the side, but since I didn't dodge, it hits anyway, or since I dodged at a wrong time, they just aimbot me. I can see why it does that, because Bloodborne technically does the same thing, but then again, Bloodborne is really fast-paced when Dark Souls is very slow, so I kind of expect it to, you know, not do that, but it does anyway. But, the fight with Lorien is just so fucking great. It's so fun. Like, sure, I get frustrated on Lorien. I mean, who doesn't get frustrated at a boss in From Software? I'm sure at least somebody has gotten pissed at a From Software boss. I mean, look at me, I get pissed at like almost every single boss that I played in a From Software game. But Lorien didn't piss me off as much as the others. And it's actually kind of surprising. He's like one of the most less rage-inducing bosses ever. And I put, like, the Soul of Cinder was actually kind of fun, but at the same time, like, he was more infuriating than Lorien. It's kind of sad. But at the same time, it's also understandable. But, like, fighting against Lorien was so fucking intense. Every time I perfectly dodged through his attacks, I felt like a badass and knew that he was about ready to be Omayumu Shindai dude. And it was fantastic. I even used the meme once, and I feel like shit for doing it, but at the same time, it's still good, and it was worth it. But the point is that Lorien is a good boss until Lothric joins. Now, the reason why it's boring when Lothric joins is because Lothric doesn't do anything. Like, he does little to nothing. I mean, sure, yeah, he'll have that little attack where he'll just put a bunch of fucking darts in the air and then he'll teleport and try to pressure you and make you forget about them. But even then, all you have to do is just dodge back a bit when he teleports and then just walk around, and then the darts will completely miss you. Like, maybe one or two will hit, but most of them are just going to miss you, and it's kind of disappointing. And then he has that really hard to predict dart if you're first fighting him that just launches at you, basically like the Crystal Sage dart. And, like, as soon as you know how to dodge it, it's just so dumb. And he, like, almost little to never does anything because he just lets Lorien do the thing. So basically it's just Lorien, but, like, with a little extra shit. And even though, like, it made the boss somewhat good, it also ruined it for me. Like, fighting against Lorien was, like, one-on-one almost gave me memories of fighting Maria. And that's honestly a pretty fucking good thing, unless you count all the rage that I had in my first playthrough trying to fight her. But yeah, point is that Lorien is actually just better when Lothric is not fucking attached to him. Like, it's just not attached to him. But I'm going to separate them real quick, and then I'm going to decipher Lorien's coolness and, like we deciphered the boss fight as a whole, but now I'm going to decipher the characters themselves and tell you guys what I think is actually good about them and what's bad. So we're going to start out with Lothric, because I actually hate him less than Lorien, or I hate him more than Lorien. But Lothric is cool in the fact that he's just, like, he knows what is going on when it comes to the Age of Fire. Like, it is his time to link the fire, and he just claps his hands together, flips everybody off, and just pieces out. He just doesn't give a shit. He just does not give a shit about linking the fire, and that is fucking savage. But why would you retreat to your little fucking hidey hole, though? Like, I understand that he's just trying to hide from the Unkindled, because, you know, he doesn't want to get fucking murdered as soon as he walks out the front door or crawls out of it, because I'm pretty sure he's disabled, if I'm correct. I'm pretty sure he has a birth defect as well. That's probably, I'm positive that that's why, because Lorien has the same, like, curse as Lothric, and that's why he crawls around the place. But basically, point is that he doesn't, I understand that he just doesn't want to die, but why in your castle? Like, did you just want to see the fire fade, like how you see the sun rise or fall? Like, dude, I would have been fucking in the front row seat just watching that shit. I mean, I did it as an ending. I literally just killed the Soul of Cinder, and it's just like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm gonna just watch the fire fade. Hell yeah. I would have just gotten front row seats to that shit. But, like, it's understandable, but it's like, it's something that's, like, a good thing to do, but I just hate him for it, you know? It's basically when somebody gets, like, a slushie, but, like, it's a shitty kind of slushie, you know? Okay, we're moving on to Lorien. Lorien is actually really fun because he's fun to fight. I fucking love his lore and his fucking design and everything about him. He's a fucking fun character. What I don't like is his teleportation. The teleportation gets me off a bit, and the moves that he can use against it either get me all the time, get me sometimes, or just completely fucking get me at the last moment and just possibly kill me. Point is that the teleport is pretty difficult to track him. I mean, sometimes I would be locked onto him and then he would teleport where the camera would normally re-lock onto him, but the camera didn't, and I ended up not knowing what he was going to do, so I dodged spastically to try and get out. It didn't hit me, but the fact that that happens is not good. Muy buenas. It's just not good. I don't like that. It's just not cool. It did make it a bit more suspenseful, but it's just really... That's basically the only complaint that Lorien has, is just his fucking teleport. Everything about him is fucking awesome. I love how he's... Like, he was the one that took down the demon prince, like, all on his own, and that's why his sword is on fire. That's fucking sick. I fucking love that. It's just... His teleportation when it comes to the lock-on is just really, really fucking dumb. Especially when he does the teleport and then he does, like, the AoE, or, like... It's not really an AoE, but basically, like, that giant wave. Basically, like Ludwig does, except easier to dodge. Because, like, the camera doesn't follow him. I expect it to follow him. I mean, he's pretty easy to find. Normally when he does that, I just look around and see what he's doing. But, like, at the same time, it's just... Why couldn't you just track him even though you've done it before? Was it because he's farther away or some shit? Like, what's up with that? But, that's basically the only complaint that I have with Lorien. Like, Lorien is the golden key. It's the only thing that makes the boss fight good. It's Lorien. But what doesn't make the boss fight good is Lothric, his lack of moves and lack of aggressiveness, plus his brother's teleportation is what ruins the fight. So, it's kind of a nitpick, and he's kind of, you know, not... So, honestly, I do kind of want to put him in the honorable mentions, but the fact that he had more negatives than the others kind of, you know... kind of ruins it, you know? Like, at least the others had, like, at least one or two things that were bad about them. He had, like, fucking 3 things. 4! Because the teleport, Lothric, and his lack of aggressiveness and lack of abilities. So there's 4 things that was wrong with Lothric and Lorien. But, now I'm probably going to move on to my final fucking thing. And that's... the conclusion. Personally, I think Bloodborne is basically like Dark Souls, but just improved. It has way better parrying, it has way better dodging, it has more unique bosses, and it just has more unique areas. So, the conclusion is actually going to be on the last thing that I just said. The areas. The areas in Dark Souls are fucking terrible. I just don't like them. There's like 1 or 2 that I like because they're the only thing that's fucking unique in the game. In Bloodborne, every single thing will either make you fucking confused or fucking awed at how much detail is in the area. It's amazing. Like, in Bloodborne, when I first made it to Nightmare Frontier, I was just like, what the fuck is this shit? And then I admired it more and more, and then I fucking loved the area. Of course, it's like probably what people declare the worst area. I fucking loved it. It's one of the great areas ever. And it has a big enemy boss that isn't done good, but done better than Dark Souls. And that's fucking saying something. Like, I know a lot of people are gonna be like... Dark Souls, without Dark Souls, Bloodborne wouldn't exist. And I am aware of this. I am fully fucking aware of this. But the fact that Bloodborne is out, I cannot tend to compare the two time and time again. And that's why this video is being made. But, aside from that, we're going to stop that. And we're going to go back to the main point. I'm not getting sidetracked with this one. I'm going to go to the main point that I'm making here. And that is the areas. The areas in Dark Souls are okay. It's either castle, village, castle, village, fucking swamp. Like, are you kidding me? I know Dark Souls is Dark Souls, so it has to be more medieval. But even then, the lore in this game makes it seem like a fucking supernatural video game. Why couldn't you just make weird areas? They made the Kilt of the First Flame. That area is fucking amazing. And they made a fucking darker version of the Firelink Shrine, which is what they did in the same thing in fucking Bloodborne with the Hunter's Dream, except it's a bit better. I'm not gonna lie, I do kind of like the one in Bloodborne than I do in Dark Souls, but the thing is like, you go through it, but like in the past. That's fucking sick, because like you fight Gundyr, but he's not corrupt. You meet the Handmaiden, and then like it's like, and then when you talk to the one in the original Firelink Shrine, this one, like she recognizes you. It's fucking awesome. Plus, you get Artorias' armor in there, and that's the only thing it's getting a 1-up for as well, so just be aware of that. And, our Dragon Peak. That place is amazing. It's basically a mountain filled with dragons, or snake-like people, and a nameless king that was disowned by his father because he decided to follow his own destiny, and that's fucking awesome. But, at the same time, it's not really that good either. That's the only good thing about it, because why are there serpent people? Like, I understand it's called Archdragon Peak, but when I see Archdragon Peak, I expect to see people that are like either full on dragon or dragon looking. I mean, you can literally turn into a fucking dragon. Like, why can't I fight them? Are they just like priests of the game? Like, they just don't do anything? Like, are they like fucking monks? Like, do they just not engage in war because of all the shit that they did before? Like, explain. But anyway, actually, before I move on, I would actually like to know why there are snake people. If anyone actually knows an idea for that, can you please tell me? I would like to know. I need that question answered. But I am going to put in a quick few honorable mentions when it comes to the areas. Archdragon Peak being one of them, and I already displayed the cons and pro-cons of it. I'm going to rephrase that. Archdragon Peak, because I already displayed its good and bads. The pros and pro-cons is fucking retarded, and I'm never doing that again. But another place is Ethereal Dungeon. You know what? No, I take that back. The Profane Capital. I like the Profane Capital. Reason why is because it's really kind of cool. It's like finding a secret part in the dungeon. It's basically when Charlie from the fucking FNAF series found the underground settlement, you know? Underneath the house. That's basically what the Profane Capital is, except Dark Souls style. And I fucking love that. And it's huge. It's really fucking huge. It's really big. It's a way larger area than I expected. Plus, you meet the guy from Dark Souls 2 that was obsessed with ladders. I mean, sure, he's a corpse, but he gives you one of the best fucking jesters in the game. Hold on, let me find it. Fucking, where is it? Stretch Style. He gives you this, just by looting his corpse, and that is fucking fantastic. And now I'm going to stay like that for the remainder of this fucking argument. What the fuck did I just say before? Anyway, and what I don't like about it is lack of enemy types. There's not very many good enemies. There's just spider bitches in that one area when like basically the fucking area that had the fucking church. And there's just a toxic river, and then there's just a bunch of spider monsters, just those guys, gargoyles, and then albino priests, or albino jailers, basically, because that's basically what they are. And that's not okay. I mean, yeah, it has Yorm the Giant, but he's not that good. I mean, it's just a fucking giant. It's horrible. Horrible fucking boss fight. Jesus Christ. I'm like going back and forth between shit, even though I shouldn't. But anyway, I'm gonna stick with the thing that I'm mostly arguing about. So, and then the last honorable mention would probably have to be none. There's only 2 for this one. That's how bad some of the areas in this game are. There's not that good. So I'm going to nitpick on the swamp. Wait, do I really need to explain why it's so bad? I mean, I'm pretty sure a lot of people that have played Dark Souls 1, 2, and 3 were already sick of a swamp level already. But, like, me playing Bloodborne and then playing Sekiro, a fucking swamp, like, could they not think of anything better? I mean, I can understand, because Dark Souls, so it has to have somewhat humanoid-like areas, but even then, if you add an area like Archdragon Peak that you can only reach if you do the Path of the Dragon, dude, and basically just get a fucking vape and just vape your way over there by doing the Way of the Dragon. Not to mention the Kilt of the Flame, which is basically like living inside your own fucking oven, so that way you can burn yourself for the next 5 years for it to go out, for the fucking fire to go out again. That's fucking awesome. That area is fucking amazing. Actually, I'll put that in the honorable mentions, and I don't need to explain why, and I don't need to explain why it's bad or good. You should figure that one on your own, because I don't have time to explain it. I got shit to do. But like, it's a fucking swamp. Like, I can't hold this salt in fucking biased opinion inside. It's just a fucking horrible area. It's so fucking bad, dude. At least Bloodborne, when it came to the Nightmare Frontier, it was in a nightmare realm. That's fucking sick, dude. That's like going to hell. And you actually go to hell in that game, and that's fucking amazing. It's fucking Jesus. Like, seriously. They couldn't at least made the swamp, like, somewhat good? Like, really? It's just fucking awful. It's, oh my god. The salt inside of me is just bursting out with this area. That's how fucking bad it is. And compared to the area that fucking a lot of people fucking hated because it was basically a swamp, hey, at least be happy that it wasn't exactly a fucking swamp. I mean, yeah, sure, it had poison, but it's not a fucking swamp. It's a fucking nightmare realm. Sick, dude. I fucking love that. That's awesome. That's what made me fall in love with Bloodborne in the first place. So now we're gonna tackle one more, and then we're gonna do since this is the first area that I did, we're going to do 2 areas and 2 boss arenas that I dislike, because it's either bland, stupid, or dumb. But anyway, moving on to the next one is Ithriel of the Boreal Valley. That's the one that I hate. Now, I know a lot of you, especially people that have played Dark Souls 3, are going to be like, Ithriel is like the best area in the game. Like, how can you say that? It's actually not the area itself, rather the things that inhabit it. And one thing about the area that I will disclose in a minute. But, again, we're going to do it this way. Pros, we're going to do good and then bad. I almost did the pros and cons thing. I'll be sure to kill myself after this video. But, the point is that this game, this arena is basically our equivalent of the positive and negative. We're going to do basically one that's just full on bad, and then one that just has goods and bads. Same with the boss arena. So we're going to tackle the good things about Ithriel Dungeon first. The view. When you first go into Ithriel of the Boreal Valley, it is fucking gorgeous, and I fucking love that. That was like when I first saw Gehrman's Arena in Bloodborne for the first time. I nearly shit myself because of how good that was. And I fucking love that. It gave me that real chill down the spine when I first saw it. Another thing is that it's a very large area and is kind of unique but kind of not. See, it's a castle, but it also is the way you access it is actually kind of interesting. The Deacons of the Deep is actually a big requirement because you need the doll that Aldwych had, so that way you can go through the barrier of that's basically the main gate, and that's pretty fucking cool, and I like that. Another thing that I like is when you're traveling through Ithriel, you see the lost souls of all the Ithriel guards or citizens of Ithriel, and that's awesome. You get to see you get to see the spirits that inhabited that place before Pontiff joined in, and I have reason to believe that some of them are actually some of the enemies in the game, but we'll get to that later. Another place is another good place is being able to revisit Anor Londo. Now, I don't necessarily have a good connection to Anor Londo, considering that I haven't played the first one, and I don't even fucking know if you go to Anor Londo in the second one. But I do know that you go into to it in the first one, and you fight the OG Ornstein and Smo. And before anyone tries to correct me, I did look it up, and Smo is the proper way to pronounce it. Ornstein, I don't really think it matters. I've seen people pronounce it Ornstein and Ornstein. Apparently it can be pronounced both ways. If you guys have any recommendations on how canon Smo's name is pronounced, you go ahead and put it down, but I've heard that it is properly pronounced by someone who has done research on this, and it is properly pronounced Smo. So if there are other canon ways, I would like to know. But getting besides the point, Anor Londo, going to there was pretty fucking cool. Kind of depressing, considering that you get to see the giant from the first game fucking lying dead in the place that I'm pretty sure he was. I don't know, because I haven't played Dark Souls 1. I do need to play that, though. And a lot of the enemies, like the Silver Knights, they're annoying, but for good reason. Like, it's basically like Lorien. Like, the dodges work. You're just either doing it wrong or you're not doing it correctly at the right time. And that's basically it. That's honestly what makes the Silver Knights pretty good. Plus, you get to visit, what's her name? You get to visit Guinevere's room, and honestly, I really fucking wish Guinevere was in there. But I had to play Dark Souls 1 in order to do that. But I do like how you can actually go into Guinevere's room. I thought it was actually kind of neat. Not because of the fact that I expected a fucking giant woman with breasts the size of fucking normal houses to be in there, but like, I would have actually liked to see Guinevere, because like, she is honestly one of my favorite characters. Again, not for that reason. It might be for that reason, but we'll talk about that when I feel like it. It's just really cool to being able to go to Anor Londo in the future. Like, I like to see what Anor Londo became in Dark Souls 3. Like, Dark Souls 3 is basically like, okay, this is what Anor Londo is like now. Deal with it. Yeah, sadly, I think I've exhausted all of the good parts of Ithral, so now we're going to the bad parts. And that is the enemy types. A lot of the enemy types are either very bland or fucking despisable. Those fucking dog things that I first faced on the bridge are like the hardest thing that I've ever fought in a Souls game ever. And it honestly kind of makes me not want to play the other ones, but I'm going to do it anyway because I'm going to force myself through hell. But the fact, it's more depressing when a boss is not stronger than a fucking NPC. Like, I have had so much fucking problems with that one enemy. Not to mention that one area where you had to fight fucking two of them, and I even pulled one, I had to like lure one over to a fucking concave area, which was even worse. I'm surprised I even killed those two. But the point is that those fucking dog things can go burn in hell. They are the worst part of the fucking game. And I'm sure a lot of people will agree with me on that. And the knights are just bland. At first I thought they were chicks because their fucking boots sound like a fucking diva walking down the street. So, my bad. But they're just not that good. They're just a hollowed tall dude. They're basically me. They're basically me when I first wake up on Mondays. That's basically what they are. And I do actually like their gear set. I do kind of like it, but that's only with the Fire Witch. The Fire Witch is the only thing that's really good when it comes to NPCs. And finally, the last NPC that I fucking despise is actually the Fire Witches and the fucking goblins. Now, the Fire Witches look cool, but they aren't necessarily cool fighting them. It's really fucking annoying. Because, like, you really, really need to pay attention. Like, I need to hack into my gamer skills to fight a few fucking hobbits in one of these dudes. They, like, I need to focus so hard on the ground. I need to be sure to look at the fucking Fire Witch constantly to make sure that he's not going to do anything stupid that's going to kill me instantly or grab me and then yeet me across the fucking galaxy. Like, it's mainly because they're either just really bland to fight or really hard to fight. And how they're bland is because if you're just fighting on them one-on-one, all you have to do is just make sure if they're not doing the fucking ground burst thing that makes a fire burst from below your feet, then you just rush them down and just hit them a few times. And they'll either die or be close to death. So now we're going to move on to boss arenas. I actually fucking despise, what's his name? I usually call him Osiris, but I'm pretty sure that's not the right pronunciation of his name. But basically the Consumed King, the dragon, the scaleless dragon dude, that I thought was a really bland boss. So not only is he a bland boss, but he also has a bland arena. It's just so fucking retarded. It's just dumb. It's so fucking dumb. It's dumb. It's so dumb. And, I really just can't explain it because it's like the swamp in the fucking tree boss. It's just so bland, it doesn't need an explanation. It's just there. It's just a fucking temple, a broken down hallway. It's just a broken down hallway with pillars and roots. That's it. But saying that, I do actually have another honorable mention that's going to go in there, and like the other one that I probably put in there, or any other one that I put in there, you guys can kind of think of your own reasons why I think it's in there, and why I think it's also bad, because there is some things bad with this, but it's the Abyss Watchers Arena. I fucking love that, and that can go into the honorable mention, so I'll leave that up to you to decide why I like it and why I dislike it, and if you don't know what it is, you should probably look it up and look up their soundtrack, because that's probably the best thing in the entire world. But, moving away from that, we're going to go to the boss arena that is bad, but does have a good part about it, and I honestly want to pick Pontiff Solivan's arena. I like his arena. It's a very cool arena. It's a proper place to fight a Pontiff. It's a very good and unique place to fight Pontiff. And I love it. It's really unique. It fits his character. But at the same time, it's also not unique to his character. Like, it's not unique. It's unique to a Pontiff, but also at the same time it's not. You know? Like, it's unique in certain ways, but it's also horrible in that same way. Like, it's just a fucking church. And I know he's a pontiff, but like, if a pontiff is just gonna fucking show up with fucking two swords, one that glows purple of the same color of one of my favorite Jolly Ranchers, and the other as hot as a fucking ghost pepper, or what I expect a ghost pepper to be like, I expect a somewhat better arena. It's just a very bland church arena. And seeing when I first saw Pontiff, I shit myself and died to him multiple times before I even killed him. I actually had to spawn someone in to have a good chance of fighting him. But then eventually I did beat him on my own. But then again, when I first beat him on my own, it was on my first playthrough. I only spawned in somebody else on the second try because I didn't want. I just fought him the second time because I expected the same thing to happen. But if you look at Pontiff, his design is nice. It's like fantastic. It's great. It's a good design. So, like, why does such a good designed boss have such a shitty area? I mean, like, yeah, sure, the Abyss Watchers have a good and shitty arena, but it has more goods than it does bad. But, like, when I look at Pontiff's arena, it's just like, this is actually kind of cool. This is what I expected to fight a Pontiff in, but not this kind of Pontiff. Like, he's a corrupted pontiff. He's using a fire that, like, corrupted his soul. So why isn't the fucking arena corrupted with him? I mean, eventually he grows fucking branch wings that are about as big as Spyro's wings, and then gets a clone. Like, why couldn't the area become more corrupt as the fight goes on? I know I could just be doing speculations here, but that's personally what I think. That's what I fucking think. That's honestly what I think. But, that about wraps this up. So, and after this, I kind of feel like I'm going to have to explain it again, because I'm pretty sure anyone who's going to watch this with less than 10 brain cells is going to think that I just fucking despise the game, even though at the beginning I said that I don't necessarily. So, I'm going to say it. The game itself is not bad. It's just, it's not as good when it comes to Bloodborne and Sekiro. And speaking of which, I didn't even point out Sekiro stuff, so you don't have to put Sekiro in this, but, yeah, I'm surprised I actually didn't have to put Sekiro into the equation, which is pretty nice. But, it's basically just, it's not good when it comes to Bloodborne. I did play Bloodborne first, so there might be a bit of bias to in some people's eyes. But if you actually, like, if somebody played Dark Souls and then played Bloodborne and then just put the arenas and, like, the gameplay and the story together, I'm pretty sure they can muck out that Bloodborne has bigger advantages when it comes to Dark Souls. Now, Dark Souls, again, for the 50,000th time, I'm pretty sure, is a good game. It is good. It's just, it's not as good as its other games. And it's disappointing, because I thought, when I first got Dark Souls 3, I was just like, okay, I'm ready for a wild adventure. I expect to see some Bloodborne level shit. And yeah, I kinda did. But even then, it was either boring, bland, or just flat out dull, or just amazing, but horrible to fight against. The Abyss Watchers were a fantastic boss. They have such a cool arena, and they have such a cool design. It honestly reminded me of Bloodborne. But the boss fight itself was disappointing. And that is unacceptable for something that has been known as one of the hardest game franchises ever. And after this, yes, I did struggle. Yes, I did die. So you don't need to point that out. But I expected to be killed as much as Bloodborne. And that is unacceptable for a game that's been declared the hardest ever made. The hardest series ever made. And I'm kind of disappointed. In fact, I've been thinking a lot about even playing the other ones, because I feel like they're just going to be dumb. I really actually think that. And that's because Dark Souls does not live up to the potential that I thought it would. At least Dark Souls 3, anyway. I'm sure the other areas have pretty fantastic areas, and probably some are probably better and worse, or even challenging than Dark Souls 3. But this is the first Dark Souls that I played, and I expected to have a sort of challenge. And I did get that, but not on the level that I expected. And at the end of the day, again, it's just an opinion. So you can take this with salt. You can rage at me, you can tell me to go kill myself, but I just hope you guys know that I don't mean it to hurt your opinion or just say that Dark Souls is a shit game, because I did enjoy it. It just didn't live up to what I thought it would be when it came to Bloodborne, and that disappoints me. So, anyway, I would like to know your thoughts on what you think Dark Souls is when it's compared to Bloodborne. If you think it's better, if you think it's worse. I honestly, it's okay. I give it like a 7 out of 10 when it comes to ratings. Again, like, it's not that good as I expected it to be. But anyway, thank you guys so much for watching, and actually, you know what, I'm going to do a little special thing today, and I wanted to sponsor a few channels that I haven't really contacted in a while, and that's Void one of my friends who is named Venus. So if anyone watches this video and watches it to the end or skips to this part, go ahead and check out his channel. He really deserves it. And another one is Kolman. He's a really good, funny dude, and I give him a bit of a hard time, but he's a pretty cool dude. I like hanging out with him. He's a pretty fun dude to chill out with, and you should check out his channel as well. And the last sponsors, or really shout out that I want to give out, is an old friend that I haven't talked to in a while, actually. Mostly because he's probably dealing with some stuff, and that is Bailey Joe. His channel is kind of struggling, but I feel like if he gets more people, he'll be more enthusiastic on making videos. So if you guys do watch this, you guys should go check out his channel as well. If you do have a bit of trouble finding him, I don't really know what to do. I mean, I could put in links to their videos, but or a video of theirs, or just their channel in general, but I don't really think that'd be necessary. If you guys have trouble finding them, you can either just stop or just keep looking. Honestly, I don't really know. I'm just too lazy to do anything right now. But anyway, this outro has gone on too long, so I'll